Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am very excited. I have with me Holly Wade, who is a holistic health coach and has been on a journey of living with Crohn's disease and just has so much to share about mindset and strategies, I'm sure, and just really excited for her to share her story. I know a lot of you listening maybe have thyroid disease, or maybe you're dealing with other digestive issues. I know that's a big component to thyroid disease. So I feel like this is something that is really going to resonate with you, whether you have a diagnosis or not, or just feeling like something is off with your health. I think that Holly will be able to offer some encouragement and guidance and just let you see a snapshot of what she's done and what's worked for her along the way. So I am going to basically let Holly have the floor and just ask her a few questions as we go. And I will be sure to share all of her info at the end so that you can get in touch with her if you'd like, or just learn more about her. So Holly, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so good to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Yes. So I mentioned a little bit about you, but if you just want to say where you're from, what you do, kind of a snapshot about yourself.
Sure. So I live in this thriving metropolis called Hemingford, Nebraska, which is this little
I'm
tiny
from Kansas,
town.
so.
Yeah, a little tiny town in western Nebraska, close to Wyoming and Colorado, which that part's great. And it's my hometown. So how I ended up back here is that 3 years ago, I got really, really sick. And I was living on the East Coast at the time, single woman, and my health was tanking, and I really needed to make the choice because it was really at the point of, I need hospitalization. I need beyond what I can do. And who really wants to rely on their coworkers? You know, as much as we love them, it's like this was that deep. Like I really did need my support system. And so I left my career. And the gift in a 4-month hospital stay, although I will say there were a lot of things I've done in the meantime. This was the thing, it needed to be done. Mm-hmm. But what I learned in that 4-month hospital stay was my life prior to was all fear. And, you know, even with this prognosis of surgery, you know, that was our last resort. That was not the first thing surgeon or my doctors wanted, my medical team wanted. It was our last resort, and it was the only resort that was left to give me any life, let alone a normal life. And that was a point of complete surrender. You know, not knowing what my future was going to hold. Was it going to be an ostomy bag? Was it going to be were they going to be able to leave intestines in? Were they going to have to remove things? Would I have any sense of normal? Would I get to do what I love, which is to move my body? Mm-hmm. I teach yoga and something called Groove, which is a dance-based program. And was I going to get to do this? Or was I going to get to live? Or was I going to be stuck with, you know, maybe trying to figure out how to write or do something else? I had no idea. But what it gave me was this place of empowerment where I realized if I can fight for my life the way that I did there's nothing I can't do. And so health coaching was really what I wanted to do. I just felt trapped in my career in that I needed the benefits. Like I said, single woman, I didn't have the support of a spouse. And even at that, sometimes people are entrapped, you know, even within a relationship that they feel like they can't leave the situation that they're in. And so it was just a gift in disguise. And what I did find in that surgery was, and we'll backtrack and cover this. What I found was it was experimental surgery. Everything was laid out. We had no idea because imaging couldn't tell them where and how bad the disease, the sick part was. Mm-hmm. And what we found out is that what's healthy is pristine. So that told me everything I had done did work. And what was not healthy, the part that was sick, was so scarred. And it had probably been for almost 30 years, maybe from high school or at least college. So years. And it wasn't that I did something wrong. It's just that that's what happens over time.
Okay.
And so what was scarred, four areas were so scarred that air couldn't even pass through. So that gave me peace in that I thought I was crazy because I couldn't keep food down. And because I wasn't absorbing, and because of, like I'm doing all these things right.
Right.
And so it really gave me this peace. It gave me this confidence that, everything I've done has worked. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it was the luck of the draw in terms of the disease and the illness and however it came about. But I got my life back.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Wow. So I can't wait to hear kind of where you are now, how far you've come. How long ago has it been since that time?
It's been 3 years since I had surgery.
Okay.
3 years since surgery. And my body is completely rebuilt. I mean, if you saw me on the street, you would have no idea. And I feel so, so fortunate because I'm in a couple of groups with Crohn's and colitis, and I see what these people are doing and prednisone and the other drugs that they're having to take and the side effects and the ramifications. And it's like, what am I now dealing with?
Right.
And like I said, I don't have an ostomy bag. I have a scar on my belly about like maybe 3.5, 4 inches long. And I'm pretty proud of that scar.
I bet you should be. Wear that proud.
I'm pretty proud of that. Like, I will rock a bikini. I don't care. Like, I earned this baby.
Yes, you did.
But it has been all of this really started even in junior high because my dad was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Okay. I was going to ask along with that, what were some of the early signs like that maybe you were ignoring at the time or?
Yeah. So my dad had Crohn's disease when I was in 7th grade. He was finally diagnosed.
Okay.
And my signs and symptoms probably came in undergrad. It actually may have started when I was in high school with mono that wasn't diagnosed, this mystery illness.
Okay, yes,
I was
definitely.
just fatigued.
So common.
Yeah. So kind of like adrenal fatigue, really, or chronic fatigue would have been the diagnosis that a naturopath would give, like just no explanation, could not move, could not, just lethargic, brain fog. And you're young, like you're supposed to have energy.
Yeah, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. And so that was probably the initial, like that's what my mom and I can trace back to.
Yeah,
that probably
the first thing you can remember
was the thing that it launched forward. And then when I was in undergrad, I started to have kind of those bouts again where with just fatigue, and I would blame it on stress. I would blame it on, I was a group fitness instructor and a personal trainer at the time. So I was teaching more than I ever should have been. And my body hurt. And it was starting to break down, which you know that when you overexercise, it's going to break down, but you're young and you don't think it's you.
Right.
So I was blaming the stress of that, the stress of being a student, the stress, which stress is also something that relates, but I was getting acne, I was having weight fluctuations. So acne here is intestinal. I didn't know that at the time. And I'd had breakouts a lot through high school too. I had acne issues. So that's a sign that something's going on inside.
Big link with your digestion.
Yep. And of course, hormonal things are happening and all that too. But that's a big, big key that something's going on inside that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
And it was addressed with medication. That maybe didn't do the trick. Or long-term probably, looking back now and knowing, you do it the best that you can at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. And then just some digestive issues. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times people with Crohn's will have diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
I was the opposite. I had constipation.
Okay.
So those were kind of the things, that my weight would fluctuate.
Yeah.
And my mom, I came home for spring break, and all I do is lay on the couch through the whole break. And my mom kept going, I think you have Crohn's.
Wow.
And of course, yeah, because she'd seen it with my dad. She'd seen this pattern. And of course I'm going, no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what I wanted to hear, because I was associating it to not getting to go on vacations, being grouchy and grumpy because I didn't feel good, really restrictive diet, just no, I was envisioning being a prisoner to my body, my life, and being a guinea pig to medications that were just going to make me worse.
Absolutely.
So of course I didn't want to go there.
Right. Who would?
Yeah. So that was one of those pieces of fear, prior to surgery. That was one of those elements of fear attached to it. And so the cycle kind of continued through grad school. And at the time, insurance was set up so that if you had a pre-existing condition, so if I'd have been diagnosed under my parents' health insurance, I wouldn't have been able to get my own health insurance.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So we had a GP, my family doctor. He knew my dad's history, and he said, I don't want to do the tests because of this.
Wow.
I want her to be able to have insurance in a few years. And, thank goodness he took that responsibility, because how many doctors would have done that?
I can't believe that he would actively save you from that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I just, small town doctors, sometimes they miss things, but sometimes they really are in your corner. And in this case, looking back, I'm like, yeah, he was in my corner. So shortly after grad school, I did have a bout of H. pylori. And what I do know, that's the link number 2. So that first link was in high school with mono. The second was with H. pylori.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was feeling that burning in my gut. That's where that was where they did the bulk of surgery.
Wow. So it was you were starting to feel it. It was coming out.
It was starting to lodge in. My immune system was that weak. My gut was that weak. And I've been reading some things to indicate, because there's some newer evidence that is showing that autoimmunes actually don't start with leaky gut. It's the Epstein-Barr virus.
I've read that too. And mono. I mean, the association with mono.
And so there it is. There's mono, which is stage 2 of the undiagnosis from the medical community. And then there's H. pylori. And that creates the leaky gut right there.
And that
just makes
sense. Which comes first. It does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am so willing to buy into that more so than not everybody means well. Or alternative.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You have to be careful on both sides. And I think I experienced great on both sides and experienced not so great. Some quackery or some wanting it for the money on both sides. But I really did, prior to the hospital, I really did. I was led to believe that it was all right here. And so again, that evidence of, well, there it is.
Makes you feel so much better.
Yeah. I did not create this. And then when I read that it's actually started by Epstein-Barr, it was like, oh my heavens, I didn't create it. It just happened. I can forgive myself. I can move on. I can keep doing the things that I'm doing because they really do allow me to have the energy. I can thank everybody that has been a part of my journey for teaching me the things they did, because they were going off of what they knew.
Yes.
Right. At the time.
Right.
And so has been really empowering, and now diving even deeper into understanding diet and stress. Those were the things that always impact me more than anything else, and stress more so than diet.
Gigantic piece.
Yeah.
So when you, what was the turning point, kind of like you went to the doctor? Did you go right into researching the diet and stress link, or did you kind of follow? How'd that all work out?
Yeah, I'm so glad you've led into that, because I'm leaving these gaps because my brain is going into the story, but you all can't see it. You know? I mean, it's like, playing it. I wish you could just, here it is. So thank you for helping me to fill that gap for everyone.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
So yes, I had the Epstein, or I had the H. pylori, and shortly after that was I'd finished grad school and was able to get my own health insurance. And you would think with my dad's medical history and with all these things, they would jump right into trying to diagnose that, jump right into eliminating that as a possibility.
Right. You would think.
No, it took me 2 years to get a gastro that would even look inside.
You are kidding. What did they think it was?
And I had 3 other gastroenterologists along the way, and no one looked inside. I was diagnosed with IBS. I was diagnosed with depression, which that's a gut brain link, all these other things. And so I was at my wit's end.
Wow.
And I remember just feeling hopeless and feeling like I'm trying to get help and I have no idea where to go. And I remember praying distinctly for a healer, not a doctor, a healer, to help me figure some of this out and to have a different outcome than my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just saw his body wasting away and dealing with other issues. And that's still the case. He's dealing with other things more so than the Crohn's now.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my chiropractor, and she couldn't believe. She's like, seriously, they're not looking in you.
Can't believe it.
And she goes, okay, there is a woman that I want you to go to. I've got her card at the front. She goes, she's probably going to punch you in the gut. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Get it to open up.
You're like, okay, this will be interesting.
Exactly. She's making a joke out of it. And I'm going, what's going to happen in this session? But so when I left, I grabbed that card. I went home, immediately called this woman, and she goes, we set the date and the time. And she goes, oh, by the way, I don't work out of my office that day. I work out of my home, and here's the address. And I went, wait, what? She lived right across the street from me.
No way.
Yeah. So we started really intensely working on a lot of things, because my personality prior to was perfectionist, people pleaser, emotional stuffer. So stress.
Yeah. Just a big ball of stress.
Yeah. Instilled on myself. So that's a concoction of, not very good stuff. So we really were attacking this from all layers and levels for quite a period of time. Actually, I worked with this woman for about 17 years.
Wow.
Even when I moved, we'd just work over the phone, or when I would come back, I'd work with her, or sometimes she'd fly out and just see me, because we also formed a friendship in that. So we started with diet, and it was, at the time, it was the low fat, no fat stuff. This was the 90s.
Yes. Oh man. Big no fat craze.
Yeah. And I swear that is what has created all these autoimmunes. I really do. I think that because we need fat in order to absorb those immune system vitamins and minerals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a cascade. If you're missing one, then you're not able to absorb and utilize minerals, and
it all works together.
Exactly. D and magnesium go hand in hand, and all these things that, I had read all this stuff in books, but I hadn't read it. I hadn't really understood it. It was just like, well, you need A, D, E, and K, or the, just textbook stuff. Knowledge as a fitness professional and as a person in exercise science. It was just like textbook. I understood the body, but I didn't know my own body. And that's what we had to really uncover. And it took a lot of time, because we're talking, in my late 20s by the time I found her. So 28 years of programming and habit and all these things. And what I had learned that really was a lot of misinformation. So a lot of meltdowns over, what do you mean I can't have flour and sugar? And gluten-free wasn't available. You know,
right.
What do you
that would have been so hard. Yeah.
Wow. So it was just kind of at that time having to go through the fire before a lot of other people.
Yes.
And really having been a hit it hard girl in the fitness world, having to figure out how to switch that over, because that was creating more stress. And I was having kind of fibromyalgia kind of pain.
Okay.
As a result, more that burning just all over your body
stuff.
Because of the added stress of hitting it hard.
Right. But you love to do that though. I mean, like was probably so difficult to have to.
And I was a dancer, you know, like hip hop, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh my goodness. But I didn't have the energy too, you know, so I gave up my social life and all this because I didn't have the energy. I'd work all week and that was all I could handle.
Right. That was your limit. That just adds more stress, because then you feel isolated, and it's just this like domino effect.
Absolutely. And we all know that there's this sisterhood and brotherhood when you relate to other people with an autoimmune or with any chronic condition. You understand this cascade of shame and guilt and loneliness and desperation and fatigue and feeling like you're a failure. And how all of that just layers on and packs on more stress inside of you, outside of you, and your family doesn't understand. You know, your loved ones close to you are like, why can't you just get up and take out the trash? And then they start to resent you because you can't handle everyday tasks.
Right. And I think that's what happens a lot when, like, with invisible illnesses, like things you can't see, that other people can't see, because you can't necessarily prove it, but you're obviously not making it up. I mean, and like you said, sometimes you can prove it with a lab result or something like that, but just to people that you're with on a daily basis, you can't always show them. And that, I feel like, I hear that a lot from women with thyroid disease in particular, because a lot of times they're walking around without a diagnosis even. And so even their doctor's thinking that they're crazy, you know, not even to think about their family and their friends that are going, why can't you suck it up and do these things?
Yeah, because you can't. And then there's the added pressure of our societal norm of being superwoman, which nobody can attain.
Yes. And I think people are realizing how stupid of a thought that is. Like, that's just not working. Yeah.
Whether it's expressed in trying to create the perfect body or the perfect life or the perfect whatever, it's all an expression of trying to be superwoman.
Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway, we started with nutrition. We, not only were we eliminating things, but it was about restoring my gut and strengthening the gut.
So what are some of the key things that you can pull out that kind of, when did you start feeling better? Or what would you say you would attribute some of that progress to?
That's a great question. I really can't put a length of time. I would say it was probably about 6 months of diligent weekly appointments with her and daily you know, changing my own stuff. But I would probably about 6 months when I distinctly remember being on her table and she goes, I think we've turned a corner. We've rounded first base.
Wow.
And it was like, really? I was just so determined. Like, I started to approach my health like it was my job. I was so determined that I'm going to get well. And I really had this idea of what that was going to look like, that it was going to, I was going to be the poster child for natural healing. That was my definition of that. And I failed at that, obviously. And yet I didn't.
Right.
You know, or in my
you failed at that.
mind, I thought I'd failed at that. And like I said, when we're like, your intestines are pristine, what's healthy is super healthy.
Yes.
You know,
You know you're doing something right.
Yeah. But I think that was the first, when I started to have more energy, my color got better again. I didn't have that grayish color. My eyes got brighter because my eyes are like a green. And when I'm getting sick, they'll turn this golden hazel color.
I've heard of that happening, like people's eye color completely changing once they switch their diet.
I had no idea that I was toxic because my eyes had been that color for as long as I'd remembered.
Wow. That's amazing. What were some of the key diet changes that you made or that you're doing today? Because I know that it evolves over time sometimes.
You know, I had to completely learn how to cook.
Me too.
And I had to learn that it didn't have to be expensive. It didn't have to be difficult. And I got to where I really enjoyed food. And I enjoy the kitchen. I really do. So I have this little laboratory going a lot where I've got sauerkraut brewing or my beet kvass or, these things fermented so that I've got some really heavy, solid probiotics going and things that are easy and healing and can help me, regardless of where I am in the phase, but especially in the winter when I'm not able to get the sunshine and that vitamin D. That's the key right there is the vitamin D for me. That's a big one, the D and the magnesium, which we were talking about.
They help each other. It makes sense. They would go together. They help each other absorb.
Yeah. Probiotics are non-negotiable.
Yes.
I know when I'm starting to get some things, I'll amp up my probiotics.
Yeah. Do you take a supplement in addition to the food?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I found one that I really like. And I learned this the other day. I've gone how many years not knowing that. And you may have already known this, but this is kind of one of those pieces that I'm like, oh, yeah, I know this with people. I learned to take it before you go to bed. I'd always taken it in the morning.
Okay. I've seen different ones recommend different ways. What's the reason for that?
So the reason that they're saying this is because your body you've eaten. So now at night, you're not like taking this probiotic and then adding food. You've had food and now the probiotic can settle in and it's got time to work.
Do its work. Replicate overnight.
Yeah. And so I was like, why was I never?
How did I not know this all these years?
How had I not heard this? But I had always doubled up morning and night when I'm, when I can feel that cycle coming in or a little flare up.
Yes.
I've always doubled up, but I've switched. And so now that's just my going to bed routine. And I'm finding, I don't know if it's the change in a different probiotic from what I was taking before, or if it's the change of taking it at a different time of day.
But you're noticing a difference.
Yeah, I am. I am. So that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. So probiotics, fermented foods. Anything, or like, do you have a set regimen that you do every day, or have you just kind of trained yourself to kind of intuitively eat? How does that work for you?
I've done this for so long that I've come to this, I can intuitively do it. And what I feel best on would be like a paleo would be the best way to describe it. But eating real food, bottom line. And I'm fortunate enough that I can eat raw. Some people can't. When their gut is that tender, but I've been able to still enjoy my salads, which is one of my favorite things, and fresh fruits and that kind of stuff. So that's been a blessing for me. And I just, like I said, I know not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And doctors will recommend, cook your veggies so they're soft and easy to digest. And
But I love that you knew how to listen to your body enough to know, even though this is typically the recommendation, your body handles it fine. Yeah. So it's never, because I know with Crohn's, there's so much contradictory advice, like eat raw, don't eat raw, eat meat, don't eat meat. And it's just the idea of it really being individual and listening to what works for you. And it may change over time. Like it's not always the same as you're healing and growing.
Yeah. And so much of it, I think, depends on what part of your gut.
That's so
absorbing different
true.
things.
I
Because
have never, I have never thought of it like that.
my dad and I are very different.
Wow. His is a different area.
Yeah. Like nightshades, I have to be careful with.
Okay.
They
But
don't
he
bother me.
doesn't. Wow. That totally makes sense. Depending on where the diseased part is,
Yeah.
different.
So that's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
But
It makes sense to me.
that's what makes sense why people with Crohn's all find different things that they can and can't eat.
Right. Oh, and I would imagine since the gut is the source of a lot of other health issues, it could be a very similar thing, like where in the gut they're weak. So that just gave me something brand new to think about. I had never thought, I knew it was different, but I never really had a good explanation of why it was maybe different for people. And that could be part of the answer.
Yeah, I think it is because different parts of the intestines are picking up different nutrients.
So true.
And so of course
That's just common sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes we try to make it more difficult than it needs to be.
Yes.
But that's my theory. I'm not willing.
Yeah. Well, you should patent that. I think that someone's going to write a book about that one day, and you're going to be the first one to think of that.
I know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not a researcher. I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm more of like, okay, cool. Let's go do it now.
Yeah. Practical application. Let's just.
Yes. Let's just make it happen. Yeah.
And I know the other thing that I like to keep on hand is bone broth. Homemade bone broth.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
healing your gut?
Absolutely. And that's one of the first things I recommend to anybody. Start making yourself bone broth, even if you're vegetarian or vegan. I know that's going to make you go, you don't have to eat the meat,
right?
Bone broth, because you're getting some collagen which is going to heal the lining of your gut. You're getting those minerals in an easily digestible form because you can't always get that from a supplement.
Right.
Even though it's in the supplement, it doesn't mean that your body can uptake
it. Yeah.
And when you're inflamed, malabsorption and malnutrition are two different things. And when you're inflamed, you're malabsorbing.
Yes. You could be eating all the nutrients in the world. Your body's not absorbing it.
Yeah.
It's like you're eating none of it.
Yeah.
That's so good. So when you were making these diet changes, did you feel like you were really resisting against the culture and against the people around you? Like, did you feel like a huge weirdo?
I felt it was such an eye-opener to how much of our world revolves around food. And it's quite natural and normal for food to be a part of celebrations. It has been throughout history. You know, Jesus broke bread with his disciples. That is what communion is. It's community.
Right.
And food is a very natural way to share that and to share, you know, we gather around the table with family and have big dinners. Yeah. And that was a hard thing because I'd go to the dinners and I'd be like, I can't eat any of this, you know? And so I started to think about, well, what can I take that I can eat, or what can I make that I know that I can eat, or what can I suggest to my mom to have at Thanksgiving or at Christmas that I know that I can have, so that I can have something and be a part of, instead of feeling another form of isolation.
Yes.
And it was really frustrating. I would get angry and frustrated with my family for not supporting me, or not feeling like they weren't supporting me. Why aren't you getting on this bandwagon? But we have to understand that everyone is in their own place. They grew up the way that they grew up, and we grew up in that too. But they have to want to change for their own reason. And until that happens, they're not going to change for us. And so it's just if we can just realize that it's kind of a part of the deal. Yes. I'm just going to take over certain aspects of meals when we gather as a group. And when they come to my place, then this is what I'm going to have on the menu. Right. And just kind of invite some different things to them. Yeah. That was a hard thing to deal with. And now my mom, now she stresses out because it's like we have diabetics in the family. And then people with
There's all these
Crohn's.
different diets you have to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so she'll ask me, okay, what can we do? I have become the expert in the family.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it took a long time.
It's so hard. And I just have to say, I feel like that part for me was harder than making the changes myself. Like just, and I feel like I had this time where I had to decide, was I going to give in at family gatherings and church events and things like that, or was I going to stay committed? And I think that's a case by case situation. Sometimes people can handle. With my health, I had to stay so committed, and I had to just decide, okay, this is going to be something I'm going to have to deal with. But I mean, I found people to be very understanding, and it almost like creates this connection when you can share, like, vulnerably share, I have this issue. This is how I have to eat. And it's awkward every time at first. And then I feel like every time I have a new friend that accepts that it just grows the friendship more. So I can totally relate. Like it took multiple years to get to the point where I was okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. It is hard to share your story time and time and time.
It is. Sometimes you just don't want to share it. You just want to eat.
Exactly. And at the same time, it's such an educational opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you never know. They
Right.
don't know. Sometimes they don't know when they have these signs or symptoms, or they may have a friend and then they're like, oh, well, you can, it creates this whenever anyone in my hometown is diagnosed with Crohn's, I'm the
I'm sure it's like, go to Holly.
Exactly. And so many of my friends from all over, it's like, okay, I need to connect you with her. And in that sense, I'm honored.
Yeah, because you should be. Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy road. Mm-hmm. And there's so much, like we were saying earlier, there's so much confusing and conflicting information.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when you're trying to figure it all out and you get this initial diagnosis, it's like,
it's overwhelming.
I have no idea. It is. It feels deflating.
Yes. So that actually makes me think of a really good question that I feel like would help people. What would you say for someone who, whether they just got a diagnosis or they're feeling like something's off in their body, what's a good place to start? Because like you said, there's, it's overwhelming to Google your condition because you get all this advice, even talking to people, you get different advice. Like, what would you say for the first 3 steps?
Empower yourself. Absolutely. Absorb information. Absolutely. Okay. And don't take it all as the answer. Mm-hmm. But really start, as you're looking through it, find the common threads, because that's the truth.
Ooh, that is so key.
That's the truth.
I love that.
Yeah.
The common threads.
Yeah. And then look for the experts. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a naturopath in your area, but start to find your team for your health. My friend calls it their board of directors, their life board of directors.
I love that.
Find that for your health. I have my chiropractor, my massage therapist, my gastro, my GP, because they're all important. And they need to be a team. I look for people that want to be a team with me.
Not the final say.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's really important. You have the power to shop around. Mm-hmm.
You're hiring them.
That's right.
They're at the mercy of you to decide whether or not you're going to work with them.
Yeah. If you are not satisfied with that answer or with their bedside manner or whatever the case may be,
find somebody else.
Look again, ask around, ask other people they go to. They may not have, a thyroid issue or Crohn's or whatever you were just diagnosed with. But if it's an autoimmune, those all kind of ride in that same category.
Yes.
So dig in, find out who other people go to and who they'd recommend and who doesn't mess around. Mm-hmm. But really understand that you have more knowledge and power than you think. Mm-hmm. I doubted myself and I questioned myself a lot. And like I said, I knew about my body based on textbook. Mm-hmm. I did not know my own body. I didn't understand it.
Right.
And just because I didn't have MD behind my name didn't mean that I wasn't the expert of my own body.
Right.
So if something feels off or seems off, it probably is.
Yes, that's a great thing too. Like for people listening that maybe don't have a Crohn's diagnosis or any diagnosis, but they're just feeling like something, maybe they're feeling like it's in their head. Like, what would you say would be the first step there? To go to the doctor or to start researching, or a mix of both? Probably
a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
And change your diet.
Yeah.
I hate using that word because
I do too. I don't know how else. I wish there was a lifestyle. I know that's used a lot.
But drastically change what you are putting in your body.
Mm-hmm. It's a direct correlation.
Emotionally and physically. Drastically change it all. Give your life an upheaval. And you can do it.
How do you stay motivated? Because I feel like sometimes when you see this big progress, it's like, yeah, I did it. And you're on adrenaline and it's wonderful. And then, oh my gosh, I still have all this life ahead of me. How do I stay motivated to keep doing this? How do you do that?
For me, it's a non-negotiable. My philosophy, my rebranding at the moment is called Lifetime Warrior, because I've landed on, you have to be a warrior for your health and your life. Mm-hmm. That's all we got. And no one else is going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it really is like, it's about setting up this lifestyle, just the basics with our body. It's nutrition, sleep, and movement. That's it.
It's very simple, really.
It's not as complicated as we make it.
No.
And when we think about this weird relationship with food that we have in our culture, like food is for our body, not this prepackaged convenience stuff.
Right.
And so if you question it, just go for food.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't know where to start, just go for food.
Real food. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's the common thread in all these diets, no matter what it is. Real food is that common thread.
Yeah. And lots of color.
Mm-hmm. Real color, not
not Skittles.
Artificial. Yeah.
Not that taste the rainbow.
Yes.
But real color as much as you can, because that's when you're going to get all your nutrition.
Right.
And you don't have to question. You don't have to worry about what do the greens do? It's all there. If you get every color of the rainbow as many days as possible,
you're covered.
And you're fat, you're good to go. It's that simple.
So simple.
Yeah. But then it's really about dealing with your stress and facing those things that you've been avoiding.
Yeah.
And that's where the warrior comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really the basis of it. And that's what creates that inflammation. Because even with the Epstein-Barr virus, this is the place that I've come to. Mm-hmm. Even though that may be in your body as an example, or whatever it is, we have more bad bacteria in our body than good at any given time, even when we're healthy. But our pH, so our chemical level, is determining whether that bad bacteria is going to breed or whether that good bacteria is going to breed. And if we have an acidic pH, it's going to be like a pond when it has moss growing over it. And it's then you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. If you can keep that alkaline, which we do by de-stressing and by eating food, that's it. When we can keep that alkaline state, then we can keep our body in homeostasis or in balance.
Yes.
And that's not to say that those stressful things that come into life aren't going to trigger that, because cortisol levels will amp up, adrenaline will amp up, and we'll swing over to that acidic state. If we're giving our body what it needs, it's so much easier for the body to swing back.
Bring it back, right.
Yeah. And so it really is those two major lifestyle changes. Take care of your body and take care of your emotions. Emotions aren't a bad thing. And that will really, really help you. And then my third step is boundaries. It is okay to have them.
Yes.
And that's that other part of the warrior. Like my health is, if it is not, at this point in my life, if it is not moving me toward health and feeling vibrant for as long as possible, mean, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get a cold or get bouts of something.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is not toward that vision of being able to walk in 20 years and still be vibrant and get up and down off the floor and that vision, then it's a clear no. It's non-negotiable for me. As far as my life, I live very simple anymore. And it's really about what's going to bring me joy. Because if I'm joyful in here, then I can share that and spread that. If I'm not, then who wants to be around me? I don't want to be around.
Yeah.
But we deny ourselves the things that we want, especially as women. And that's part of that stress factor, part of that resentment of ourselves, part of that betrayal. All of those bad emotions are really directed back at us because we're not setting boundaries and we're not communicating.
That's so true. Because I think with women, that is a reason why we don't want to invest in our health, because we feel like it's selfish and we have all these other people to take care of. But I notice, like, if I feed myself well, then I am better at every single relationship. Like, I'm giving more. When I'm not, I am not a very pleasant person. Not to say I can't still serve, but I can do it so much better if I'm taking care of myself.
Absolutely. And we have so much more to offer because we're not depleted.
Yes.
Energy. Because we've done the things to fill our soul, going out in nature or saying, you know what, I need a nap. Or
naps are great.
or whatever it is that you love to do, gardening or dancing and not allowing that in your life just because someone won't go with you.
Right.
Or just because we don't have dances in my community.
Yes.
What? I can turn on a playlist and I can still dance in my bedroom.
That's so, well, and that's like the perfectionism thing. I know where I feel like that, where it's like this all or nothing. Like, I have to, if I'm going to do this hobby, it has to be all out, this grand thing. No, like, just start small, even if you're just doing it by yourself.
Yeah. Don't let that stop you, because this is your life. And having the gift of being on the deathbed for real. I left this little deal out. I was told when I got there, my doctor said, you got here just in time.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And so,
you were there.
Yeah, I was there. And that just changes everything, because that was also this, like, I'm not going to do things that I don't enjoy. I don't care if no one else wants to do it. This is my life. And I don't want to hit that point for real and look back and go, God, I really wish I'd have taken that trip. I really wish I would have taken a chance on that relationship. I really wish I would have, because often our priority, or what we say are our priorities and where we spend our time, don't line up.
Right. That's such a, like, writing it out and actually seeing how am I spending my time? I think we can deceive ourselves thinking like, I'm doing all that stuff. But when you really look at it,
I love to travel. So when's my next trip?
When am I doing it? Yeah.
Even if it's a little weekend, even if it's a little weekend getaway,
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing.
No, it can just be a little road trip with a girlfriend to the town next over.
Right.
But when we understand those things that we love and we give those to ourselves, that's abundant living. It's not about what's in your bank account, but it is about living in alignment with what really matters to you.
Right.
You only get this one chance. So we might as well love the heck out of this life and and have as much fun as possible in these bodies.
Yeah.
It's not always going to feel good in this body that we have. But the more we start to realize, hey, what I eat today impacts how I feel tomorrow. Yeah. The more it's those little steps, that when we think of the short-term future. Yes. Connect those dots. That leads to that longer term.
That's really, really good. Yeah. And seeing how when you eat this, you do feel better. And I think that's another way that you can stay motivated is you're actually seeing like the actual progress. Well, Holly, I feel like I could talk to you for a whole other hour. Like, I feel like you have so much to share and offer. it's just so, so good. I'm sure this encouraged people, and I'm sure that they're going to be wanting to know more. So where can they find you? I'll be posting links, but if you just want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook. My personal feed is just Holly Wade. My business profile is Holly Wade Wellness. I'm on Instagram, HW Wellness, but Facebook is more, I spend more time. And then my website, which is being redesigned right now. So just wait about a week, and then I'm so excited for that to come out.
Yay, that is exciting.
But that's where you can sign up for a 30-minute call, a free 30-minute holistic health assessment. We're just going to look at things and see where you are and where you want to be, and fill those gaps. But that will be at hollywadewellness.com.
Wonderful. Yay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Holly, and everybody listening. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to reach out to Holly. We'll share all of her links so you can get in touch with her if her story resonated with you, and hope this was an encouragement.